Now, the most common notification that folks have to do is this 90-day public notification. If you are required to monitor your wells for any reason, whether it's a requirement that you conduct triggered source water monitoring, follow up that total coliform distribution positive with oil samples, or if you're just doing it because of a plan of some sort where you're conducting that assessment monitoring, if you fail to do required monitoring, you've got to do this 90-day public notification. For y'all in California, this would be what we call Tier 3 on the federal level. Also, if you have a deal where you're doing the 4-log viral inactivation, where you are doing that monthly reporting and monitoring of the disinfectant residual to determine that you've got the 4-log inactivation, and you just fail to monitor, then you've got to do the 90-day public notice. So these notifications, all of these for the Texas systems, the specifics of how you do the notification, the type of delivery and stuff, that's all in the 290-122 rules, okay? So the method that you use to notify the public for any of these, the delivery method, the content, and the reporting requirements are all in those rules like they are today. And the delivery method is a little different. For example, if you're a community system and you get that fecal source indicator and you have to tell folks, your customers, you're going to have to do the radio TV in Texas, and you're going to have to also then follow up with the direct delivery and so on. But it kind of ramps down as you go through the types of notification. The content's going to be very specific also, and I think Matt Court was telling you on the round table something about the stuff about the web page, and when they have that web page all put together, they'll have on there the mandatory language that's required and the format and instructions about this. So the content, you've got that mandatory language, which is the part that's always so difficult because it talks about all the negatives. For every public notification, however, you also have that opportunity to add to that content a statement that says anything factual, whatever you're doing to take care of the situation, and that's your opportunity to communicate the positive. And then finally, also, I think Matt mentioned this, all of this notification, since it's required, we need to get a copy of whatever it was you sent out, whether it's a copy of the newspaper, a copy of the public service announcement, whatever it may be, copy of what you used to reach the customers, and then a certificate saying how what methods you used to reach the customers. Also, on this slide, one other thing to add, for every public notification, you're always required to try and reach customers that may not receive a bill. So, for example, if you have a large customer that's maybe a sub-metered apartment complex that doesn't have bills, if you can get them a big bundle of mail-outs or something, that's an effort to reach non-bill paying customers. All right, so let's move on now to the consumer confidence reports. And this is a little different too. Now, just to kind of finish off on the public notice, in the 290-122 rules, which are just public notice in general, in Texas, all public notices, you're required to follow up and tell customers when it's been fixed so that they know, oh, it's over, and using the same method you used before. And that would be true for non-community systems. If they posted the violation, then they need to post when they return to compliance. For community systems, there's also an annual communication with your customers known as the Consumer Confidence Report, or the annual report of drinking water quality. So the CCI requirements say that you've got to tell your customers anytime that there's a fecal indicator positive source sample, wherever that happened, whether it's repeat monitoring after TCR or whatever. And when you do that, you're going to want to put some details in there. and you're going to have to continue. Now, wouldn't be very likely, I think that most of y'all, certainly everybody in this teleconference would probably, by the time they're developing a consumer confidence report, they would have absolutely taken care of that, that problem and fixed it. And so they'd be notifying that they'd corrected it. But if it's uncorrected, you have to do it year after year, note that that has been uncorrected. So the required specifics of telling about that fecal contamination would be what the source is, the dates that it happened, or date or dates that it happened, whatever you've done to address it, and then like I say, if you haven't addressed it, which that would be your neighbors, not you, then what the plan and schedule is for correction. Again, just on that same thing where you have the opportunity to say what good things you're doing as well as, you know, what happened. And then any interim measures that you've already finished. So it may be, you know, that you've done some additional sampling, you're still working on redoing the well or something. Just let them know what's going on. And then finally, there is that mandatory language for potential health effects. So back to significant deficiencies. If you'll recall, Sean Stewart talked about that in the morning this morning. If the field investigator finds a significant deficiency at the system, that's going to have to be described in the Consumer Confidence Report for community systems. And that significant deficiency notification is going to have to include details about what happened, just like everything else. What was the nature of it? When was it found? And what your plan is for fixing it. Now, if you've corrected it by the time the Consumer Confidence Report comes out, and I'm sure that you will have, then you'll want to say just, you know, kind of the nature of the deficiency and then how you corrected it and the dates of the correction. So just, again, letting people know and letting people know the good things you've done. So the dates on this, we're here in, let's see, is this July 2009 still? I guess so. So December's coming at us like a big old freight train. And for next year, you know, there'll be 1 month of the groundwater rule on your Consumer Confidence Report. So if you're unlucky enough to have something exciting happen in December of 2009, you're going to have to put that on your, what we call the 2009 CCR, that you'll be putting out in July of 2010. Now, 2010 is going to be a full year, so anything that happens in 2010, that's going to go on what we call the 2010 CCR that you're going to be sending out in July of 2011. Finally, I just want to thank you so much for coming. You know, it's the busiest time of the year, but training is critically important, and I just want to commend you and thank you for hanging with us so long. Thank you.